All right, welcome to another episode of the Freezin NFC North Podcast, episode 37. Fields runs to history. Packers lose fifth straight. Vikings sail to victory, and Lions roar plus Week 10 preview. Well, we have some guests and some returners this week. First of all, I want to introduce our Bears guest, Matt Zahn from Matt Zahn Sports, CBS 2. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Glad to have you. A lot of positive things. We're going to talk about the Bears in the future. On the end of the spectrum, we've got another guest. We've got Caden Sanilla from the Pack Only Podcast. How are you doing?
Could be better. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely could be better. And, on either side, we've got our Vikings returners for the week. And we'll go ahead and welcome you again, Shelby. How's it going?
It's going good. You like that? You like that?
We all like that. Everyone likes that.
Well, not everyone, but especially Vikings fans. And Dave, how are you doing? Are you ready to eat some crow yet on Justin Fields?
I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm excited for the show, though.
All right,
I'm excited to be 7-1. That's what I know.
Hell yeah.
Lots of great things, and we'll get to your Vikings. Just hold on a bit, right?
We got time. We got all time in the world.
All the time in the world to go downhill or at least lose the Super Bowl, right?
Well, it's all options. It's not an option for the Bears to lose the Super Bowl.
Ouch.
Maybe next year.
Next year.
Not yet. Yeah.
Let's just get right into it then. All right. So, Justin Fields, and I got a chance to go to the game, and he rushed for a QB record 178 yards, which was crazy to think that in the regular season, no quarterback has ever done that before. In the 35-32 loss to the Dolphins, yes, it was a loss. Tell us a little bit about kind of what you saw, Matt, and what happened in that game.
Well, first of all, I don't know if I've ever seen a fan base more excited about a loss. Let's start with that. It was maybe the most exciting loss in Bears history. This has been building the last 4 weeks or so, starting even with the Washington game on Thursday night where they didn't look that great. But, they only scored, I think, 7 points. But Justin Fields played pretty well. They moved the ball. They just couldn't do anything in the red zone. Then they used that little mini bye, and they clearly unlocked something. The designed runs for Justin Fields are what's working. And I think that has helped him be more comfortable as a passer as well. Like, he's still not putting up a ton of passing yards, but he's been much more efficient throwing the ball. Honestly, I think it was more surprising how much he struggled early, and this is more kind of what we thought we could see from him.
Tell you what, yeah, I mean, I was at the game, and what I liked from early on is, obviously we got Chase Claypool, and they were really trying to force it to him early. Obviously, he had some drops and all that, but what I really liked is what they did with our good old Cole Kmet, tight end. They ran him
2 in a row.
Yeah, and so that was kind of nice to see some wrinkles there, just to kind of add. And it goes to show you, when you have a top end wide receiver, and I know a lot of people are kind of like talking about whether Claypool is elite or not, but for the Bears, as you know, Matt, I mean, it's close as we've gotten since I don't know when. I mean,
I mean, he doesn't have to be a traditional super number one to be their number one right now.
Right, absolutely. And so just having him there, helps the offense as a whole. And I like, obviously, I was at the game with a friend of mine who was a Dolphins fan, and throughout the game we talked about, obviously how Fields was, not necessarily passing as much, but he was say, and he was calling it ahead of time. He said, look, Justin Fields going to run left for a first down. He's going to run. And that's exactly what happened. So are you at all worried about that in the offense, or do you think that Justin Fields can continue to develop his passing as well?
Yeah, I think we have seen him develop his passing. I said, he hasn't been putting up tons of yards, but he's been much more efficient. His completion percentage is way up. His decision-making seems to be better. He's getting rid of it much quicker. You even seen him from time to time using these different arm angles a la Pat Mahomes. So he is definitely more comfortable back there. And I know our Packers guy probably is going to like this, but I think a lot of credit goes to Luke Getsy for sort of tailoring the offense to him. And we've seen sort of what's going on in Green Bay without Luke Getsy there.
Are you surprised then, like the change of the narrative? Because, like, maybe a couple weeks ago, it was just like, fire Getsy, he doesn't know what he's doing, and Fields is not, he's a bust. And obviously, Dave continues to say that. But are you surprised at the change of the narrative so quick?
I mean, no. Have you met people? No, I would say it takes some time. It's only where you didn't play you didn't play the entire season last year, and this is a new offense they're trying to work in, and clearly that takes some time. And as he is getting more comfortable in this offense, it looks like we're seeing a much better version of Justin Fields.
And with that, then, obviously, I want to give everyone an opportunity to kind of answer this question. Then, but you first, Matt. Do you see him kind of taking that next step and kind of becoming a star, or was this maybe just an aberration these last few games? Is he going to be able to take that step this year?
I don't know. Maybe this year, I don't know if he's going to be a great passing quarterback by the end of this year. Even with Claypool, they still don't have a ton of weapons. But I think you clearly have seen star quality in him the last few weeks. Like he looks like a guy that can do this. And normally you would say, the running isn't super sustainable, but he's also learned and done a great job at avoiding hits on those runs. So at least short term, I think that is sustainable.
What do you think, Shelby? Are you kind of a little scared kind of going forward, when you kind of think about what Fields is and can become?
I wouldn't say I'm scared. But I did say when they played us that I did sense that he was really gaining some confidence. And I think that he can, definitely improve. And obviously we've seen if the Packers do continue to fall, that the Bears are kind of the next one moving up. And I have seen some really good play for him to beat a QB record, especially with people like Lamar Jackson and even Jalen Hurts right now. That's pretty crazy, and that's something excited to look forward to for sure.
Well, I'm going to wait for you, Dave. I want to get Caden. What are your thoughts on Justin Fields' development so far?
So, being a Packer fan, I'm actually from the Chicagoland area, so I grew up going to school with a whole bunch of Bears fans, and them chirping at me and back and forth. Justin Fields has turned into a quarterback that I'm really starting to worry about because it's starting to change and shift with teams. And what I was telling to some of my friends and buddies, I'm like, with the Bears cap situation, they have so much money. All they need is a decent offensive line and a number one really good wide receiver. And I think the Bears could be the number one team in the division next year.
So Dave, what are your thoughts then? Obviously, I know you're the contrarian of the group, and I just wanted to get your thoughts.
He's impressed lately. I can't say he's been bad.
Can you say that again?
He's been much better. This is the Fields that you need, though. Sometimes when I watch a guy who's that athletic, I can't be, I'm not blind, but I also understand the quarterback position. You have to be able to throw the ball, and until recently, I'm sorry, Matt. Like he was saying, he's being more efficient. Yeah. He may not be throwing up, 300 yards, but he's being efficient and he's running and he's using his athletic abilities and he's looking good. I think that's a positive. I've said since the beginning of the season to you, I said, if I was a Bears fan, I want to see him develop. And it's looking like he is. Now, is he going to be a superstar? Is he going to be, Lamar Jackson or somebody better? I don't know. But it's definitely trending in the right direction. He hasn't looked terrible. You're not going out there and just, getting ran over every week. So he's looking better. I don't want to jump on the Justin Fields train just yet. It's still early. Get him some.
But it's
better
filling
weapons.
up, so grab a seat.
Yeah, it is.
So listen, he's been impressive over the last couple of weeks, and that's all you can ask for as a Bears fan, I'm sure. Then we'll see going forward how that develops. Is he going to be someone like Hurts who takes an even bigger step next year? Maybe he could be. Lamar Jackson, those guys are superstars right now. And if he keeps going like this, he could be, sure.
And yeah, I mean, you talk about all those players, even, Lamar Jackson, he won an MVP and still, he wasn't the best version of himself, as far as the passing quarterback, the number of, the yards that he was running, and he was the MVP. So he still kind of developing, and obviously Hurts there was a lot of question marks on him, but I like what you were saying about, obviously you got free agency and when you look at kind of his development, I think this is important then, looking at free agents then wanting to come to Chicago. And do you see that as kind of being important, Matt, with kind of what Justin Fields is showing, then kind of attracting other free agents in the offseason?
Yeah, that's the thing. So right now they have, I think they're set up to have the most cap space in the league next year. The funny thing is, I was just talking to somebody about this earlier. Obviously their new GM Ryan Poles has a clear vision for what he wants from this team. He got rid of Khalil Mack before the season, just got rid of Robert Quinn, just got rid of Roquan Smith. They are clearly building for this long-term future plan. But I wonder if they knew if Fields was going to get this good this quick, if they maybe would have wanted to keep a couple of those guys and take a shot at something this year. Because, with Fields playing this well, if you had a decent defense, there's no reason they couldn't be competitive. But again, if he does play well, I think it is going to attract the free agents. But even when you have all that money to spend, that doesn't necessarily mean you're bringing in great players. Even if you think they're great players, free agency, as we know, is kind of a crapshoot.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely is. Well, let's kind of obviously move on with the Packers. I mean, that is a huge topic. When you look at that game, Caden, what were your thoughts? Just throughout the whole game. I mean, and what Rodgers was doing in the red zone. Talk about what happened with the Lions beating the Packers this week.
It was really just frustrating to see this team play Sunday. I mean, I don't know what's been wrong with Rodgers lately. He just hasn't been himself, and it's just leading on I mean, there's so many things wrong with this team, ranging from the top organizations in our GM not trying to get him a wide receiver, helping him defensively. I don't know why we're calling shotgun on the goal line 5 times in a row. It doesn't make any sense to me. Just overall poor play. The team has zero energy, and it just sucks to watch them week in and week out these last few weeks.
I mean, not for the rest of us, but I get it.
Nobody else is upset about it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the Bears game, and I'm looking at that, and I'm just like, wow. But then you look at Aaron Rodgers, and he throwing those interceptions. He just looks really frustrated. I mean, who's really to blame for this? I mean, you can talk about the wide receivers, but in the defense, I mean, there's a lot of injuries. I mean, when you look at this team, I mean, what's really kind of the biggest thing? Is it Rodgers, his kind of play, or is it the play calling, or what is it?
I'd probably say it's a mix between Rodgers and his play this year and also the play calling between Matt LaFleur and our offensive coordinator. It's just overall the mixture has not been good. I mean, the Bears did seal Luke Getsy, and I guess that's also a situational problem because we have Dom Clemens back there, and he just isn't helping this year. And just Aaron Rodgers is just, just has not been good.
Yeah, and I have him on several of my fantasy teams. I've kind of been a little bit disappointed. It's weird to see him on the waiver wire now on fantasy football. I'm like, what's going on here? But, I mean, when you look at the next few games, I mean, how are they going to turn this around? I mean, you look at their schedule, and I put up the my prediction from in the schedule release day. I said they'd win 8 games. Everyone was like, thought I was crazy, but that may even be a little bit, optimistic at this point, right?
Yeah, I will always try to be an optimistic Packer fan, but these upcoming games are, really difficult. I mean, looking at the schedule, you face the Dallas Cowboys this weekend, who have a really good defense, and I mean, Dak's been playing stellar recently, and then you have a short bye in which you go against the Titans on Thursday Night Football. And I mean, I don't know how our defense is going to be able to handle Derrick Henry. And then we face the undefeated Eagles at that point. This team's going to have to get something together. I mean, the only upside I can look at right now is that at least they signed a wide receiver today, Jeff Cotton, undrafted pick in 2020. So at least that's something.
Something.
Yeah, I don't know. I when you look at this schedule, yeah, I mean, if the Packers lose to the Bears, I mean, what's going to happen I live in the state of Wisconsin, so I'm going to be celebrating here, but I mean, what's going to happen?
I really don't know. The fan base is really divided on whether or not we should just trade and get rid of Rodgers and move on to Jordan Love, or due to the cap space that we have right now in his massive contract, do we just keep and retain him and try to figure things out? It's really difficult.
And at this point, that's pretty much just fans saying, do this, do that. They're not going to trade him. It's all in. It was kind of like you make a deal with the devil, either Rodgers delivers you what you need or not. And obviously he hasn't. And they're not going to go to Jordan Love, right?
I mean, hey, I've seen some crazy stuff happen on Twitter with fans, and they really are calling for Jordan Love to go out there and play.
I don't
Packers
know.
fans are so spoiled. You know what?
Oh,
I'm not upset about that at all. They're turning on him so fast.
Well, but that's the thing. I think, if he was a better teammate, if he was overall,
Exactly.
So talking about probably one of the best teammates, and let's just kind of give some Kirk Cousins his due, right? He is a pretty good teammate. Talk a little bit about that win over the Commanders, and is it really all that impressive? I mean, there's the Commanders. I mean, they need the final 2 minutes to kind of come back, right? Obviously it's a great win, but are there still some holes, Shelby, that you see on the Vikings?
I still think we are not playing to the capability that, we can. And I was very disappointed in the third quarter again. Obviously, we went back on the slump. That really pissed me off. But I think that we're getting even more and more confident in the team. Hawkinson, oh my gosh, what a good addition. 9 for 9, and then Jefferson was like, oh, I haven't been defended like that all year. So we already know that that's really opening that up for him. And I think that it was great watching, like you said, Kirk is such a good teammate. And it really does show the contrast in him and Rodgers, especially now. It's like the more selfless he becomes, the better we are. And our defense is killing it. I remember the first couple of weeks we were like, what the fuck is this defense doing? And again, our comebacks in the fourth quarter, it's like night and day. You can't watch the Vikings in the fourth quarter and be like, this isn't a good team. So, these next couple games are going to really kind of solidify things for us and see, is it just, a great win over the Commanders, or is this actually a great team?
Well, yeah, a win is a win in the NFL, even if it's by 3 points, 1 point, whatever. But Dave, when you look at this team, is the defense going to have to step up more for this team to kind of take that next level?
I think both sides of the ball need to step up. You can't. We scored the first drive of the game, and then they didn't score again until the fourth quarter. That can't happen against good teams. Washington's an okay team, but they're not Buffalo, which is who we play next. They're not Dallas, they're not Philadelphia, they're not the teams that you're going to play in the playoffs. And you can't go almost 3 quarters without scoring. You just can't if you're going to win the playoffs. The defense has been playing really, really good. They kept them in the game when they weren't scoring points. And if it wasn't for the referee taking out one of our safeties and, giving the team 7 points, it would have been a different playing. But one thing I like is that if the defense is, not playing good, the offense is scoring. When we weren't scoring points, the defense is holding. Same thing happened in Miami a couple of weeks ago. They had, I think, 10 3-and-outs that day. They didn't have a first down until like 5 minutes left in the first half. We were down 3 points at that point. So they let them get going. They're playing really good all-around football. And I like that. And we were down 10 points in the fourth quarter. I was not optimistic, I admit it, but they made a play. They got one drive going. They got a field goal. They got a turnover. They got a touchdown. It just snowed. Good teams find ways to win. It's not always pretty. Do I think this is the best team in the NFC? No. Do I think the best team in the NFL? No. But they're just getting it done, no matter what. And yes, the next couple of weeks are going to be tough. This is when we're really going to find out how good we really are. Buffalo, Dallas, the Patriots, and the Jets. Those are 4 good teams. So I guess we'll see how good they are in a month. Ask me then.
Well, yeah, let's kind of move right into that then. Shelby, when you look at some of the keys for the Vikings at Bills, it's going to be interesting to see, obviously, whether Josh Allen is available. What are some things that kind of you're looking at as keys to this game?
The Josh Allen thing, I think the fan base is kind of very divided on that, because for me, I almost want him to play, because all we've heard all year is fraudulent wins. And, obviously a win is a win, but at the end of the day, people find a way to shit on the Vikings. And I think if we beat Josh Allen, that would be huge. But also, I think it's interesting that it would be against Case Keenum, who, another thing that Kirk Cousins has been able to do this season is kind of pick at like chips on his shoulder. Like, everyone has always been like, oh, I wish we had Teddy Bridgewater, beat. Oh, good thing we traded him from the Commanders, beat. Like, everybody being like, you like that? And then he comes back and does what he does. And now Case Keenum is someone not everybody, but there's a lot of people, we got him after that 2017 season. And then you have Frazier also. So I think that that's going to be big. I think our defense, this is going to we need to pressure. I loved seeing Danielle Hunter last week. He seemed to kind of be more himself. Za'Darius Smith continues to be beautiful, but Patrick Peterson, he's had an amazing year, but he's going to have to really be on Diggs. Diggs is going to be sitting there, and he's going to come hungry. He's going to be hungry, and he's in Buffalo. So that's kind of my main thing to watch, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's going to be important. And then you kind of look at the Bills overall, and obviously if they stop Diggs, that's going to be important. But when you look at some of the other weapons, for the Bills, Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox are going to have to step up as well. So what do you think about Dave, about trying to the rest of the defense trying to stop Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox?
I think I don't know what to think, honestly. We've in the past we've given up a lot of passing yards. It's not a secret. But again, we just seem to make a play and bog down when we need to. It's gonna be a completely different game if Josh Allen plays. I think he's the best quarterback in the league, so it's huge. If Case Keenum plays, obviously that's a huge drop down, but he's still capable. We just almost lost to Taylor Heineke, so it doesn't mean we can't lose to Case Keenum. And I also think the Bills are just a better overall team. So no matter what, I think it's going to be a good team. It'll be a good challenge. Gabe's I don't think he's a great receiver, but he's a big play guy, and you have to account for him. just like Dawson Knox. Those guys make plays, and if whether we double team Diggs or what, I think he's going to get his. And other guys are going to have to make plays. It looks like Cam Dancer might not play, which is unfortunate because he's been playing really well. So that's a big loss if he's not there.
But Evans really stepped up last week.
He did. He played well. He did play well.
For his first game, I think he did amazing.
Couple other points on this. Obviously, the Bills have not been all that good at stopping the run. So you look at, I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a big game in this, and it's interesting. I don't know James Cook how much of a role he's going to have in the offense, but that's interesting that their Cook brothers are playing against each other for the first time ever.
That'll be fun to watch. I just saw actually something on NFL Network, and Dalvin said he's ready to show little brother how to do it. So that'll be fun.
Well, speaking of showing little brother how to do it, let's move on to the Lions and the Bears. And I guess the Lions are kind of the little brother to everybody in the division when you look at this. And so, Matt, when you look at the keys to this game, it looks like the Bears are 3-point favorite. So what are your kind of thoughts as, the Bears winning this game, or maybe even the Lions continue a winning streak of their own?
Yeah, the crazy thing is with this Bears team now is they're kind of a high-scoring game kind of team now. The offense is working, and I would imagine the offense will keep working against the Lions, who I believe have the worst defense in all of the NFL yardage-wise so far this season. They've just been giving up tons of everything to everybody, basically. And the Bears defense, since losing Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn, can't stop anybody. So I would think the Lions will, even though their offense hasn't been great, I would think they'll be able to put up some points as well. So I would expect, barring the weather being a major factor, it's supposed to be cold Sunday, but barring that, I would expect a ton of points in this one.
Yeah, and you look at it, it'll be interesting to see whether DeAndre Swift plays, but he wasn't really playing as much. They've kind of been mixing that up, I think.
Yeah, and the Bears' run defense has been bad all season long too. So yeah, if you're looking for fantasy football guys, I would play him in this game.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and yeah, I was at the Bears game with a Dolphins friend, and we were kind of betting who would score the first touchdown. I said it was going to be Raheem Mostert, just knowing the Bears' thicky run defense, and that's what happened. And for the Bears, obviously now it's weird as a Bears fan to have expectations,
right?
But as a fan, I just don't want to look at wins and losses. I just want to continued growth, and also. I think, obviously, Matt, you talked about, giving up some of the defense and having a better defense, but it's almost more fun as a Bears fan. Obviously, we're not used to this, but having a great offense and your defense stinks, but the offense, you at least know you're going to you have a chance, right?
Having watched this team up close the last 6 years or so, I can tell you watching a good defense with a really bad offense makes for a lot of boring football games. So for all of us kind of covering this team, it has been a welcome respite to actually see scoring in these games. So it has been a lot of fun to watch. And I don't see that stopping now anytime soon because they don't have the guys on defense. They can't get a pass rush. So that they can't do anything really on defensive side of the ball. They have a young secondary that is going to get better, but it's not there yet.
Well, yeah, and you're facing. It's weird to say, but the Lions have a decent offense with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they could really score some points.
Yeah, and I would expect them to this week because Jalen Johnson is a good cornerback for the Bears, so he could slow down Amon-Ra St. Brown a little bit, but they tend to not just match him up on one guy, so they'll keep him on one side of the field. So, and even the Bears' number 2 cornerback, Kendall Vildor, who hasn't been very good at all, he got hurt in their last game, and he didn't practice today. So, good chance he might not play on Sunday, and that would leave them down to an undrafted rookie, Jalen Jones, in there, and almost nothing after that.
Right. So, on the other side of the ball, with the offense, obviously, we got Claypool. What do you see his role being, and then how does it affect Mooney going forward as well?
I think it's good for Mooney. Obviously they still don't pass a ton, so there's not a ton of opportunities for both of them. But I think having a guy like Claypool that can clearly stretch the field at times, they're just two completely different guys. Mooney's a little guy, Claypool's a huge dude. If you can get Claypool into the offense a little bit more, which I think he will be this week, it is a kind of a complicated offense. The way Luke Getsy sort of does it, there's a lot of kind of reading things as you're at the line of scrimmage and a lot of little things to figure out. So I don't know if he'll be fully up to go this week already, but I think you'll see a lot more of Claypool on the outside, maybe running some of those jet sweeps like they had Bayless Jones Jr. doing for a little bit.
Yeah, I liked one of the it was the first catch that Claypool made. They threw it out to him, and it was maybe a 2-yard gain, right? But everybody in the stadium cheered because of his move. He made this move that just made the cornerback miss, and that's something we've been missing as a Bears offense for quite a while.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure he's going to be great here. He obviously didn't live up to expectations in Pittsburgh, but he certainly looks the part. Once he gets up to speed, I think he's certainly going to help Justin Fields out.
What about expectations for the running game? There's a lot of chatter of Herbert's the better running back and Montgomery. What do you see between those two running backs?
I think they might be right. And I do like David Montgomery, but Khalil Herbert sort of seems to have an extra gear and extra shiftiness maybe that David Montgomery doesn't have. Khalil Herbert has great vision too. He always seems to find the hole, whereas Montgomery will sort of run into contact a little more. I think Montgomery's a good back. He's strong, he's tough, and he's got some speed. But I think Khalil Herbert might have a little more. But then again, they're both good. And I think they complement each other well. I don't think you necessarily have to say who's better than one. It's good to have two backs that can run it, and then you throw in Justin Fields running as well, and that's why they lead the league in rushing.
Yeah, that's what you really need in the NFL, the two running backs. It was interesting to kind of watch between, it seemed like in short yardage situations they were seeming to put in, Montgomery as opposed to Herbert.
Or Cole Kmet.
Oh, Kmet, dude, that was just, I'd love to see that. And I can see we're kind of, boring the rest of the all the Bears love fest here. So let's get into my favorite part of the night. Talking about the Packers, especially when they're down. So, so Caden, talk a little bit about, I mean, this game, week 10, I mean, Packers, Cowboys, when you looked at the beginning of the season, you're probably licking your chops thinking, okay, McCarthy's coming back. We're just going to blow him out or something. But this has really changed now. So talk about some of the keys of this game when you look at the Cowboys playing the Packers.
I mean, the major thing going into this game was Mike McCarthy coming back to Green Bay, Wisconsin, how that was going to be and how Aaron Rodgers and his relationship. I mean, Aaron came out saying, I believe this week, talking about how much he loved Mike, and Mike was starting to get teary up at his press conference, I believe, yesterday when talking about the Packers and that relationship. So I'm kind of glad he's coming back and optimistic of that forth. I mean, key focuses into this game where the Packers are down a lot, just a ton. Wide receivers were thin defensively. We had 10 guys who did not practice today, which was just absolutely crazy. I think we had 18 guys on injury report, which is just, it sucks to see. And I think some main focuses within this game, I could say, is that we just have to run the ball and pray that Aaron Rodgers, vintage Aaron Rodgers, shows up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Dallas run defense, that's been, their Achilles heel a little bit there, but they've got a heck of a pass rush. And I think it's going to be interesting to see. I feel like Rodgers plays well when he has an edge to him. And this, I mean, he's got some motivation. Obviously, everyone's saying the Packers are done, so that's one. But then against McCarthy, he's got extra motivation. I mean, we've been talking about for weeks on this podcast about, must-win games. And is every game kind of going forward, at least, if they continue, I mean, is this a must-win right here?
Oh, 100% for sure. If they do not win this game, I don't know what there's left to this season. That's what I say to put it.
Didn't that happen already last week?
Yeah.
Right.
Before, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the schedule and it's really, I mean, yeah, these are some tough games coming up. I mean, you can't say that the Bears one is as easy as it looked, a week or two ago. And but if the Packers are going to, I don't know. I mean, if there's any life left in them, they need to win this game.
Oh, 100%, no doubt about it.
And so when you look at Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's not the same Aaron Rodgers. Is it? I mean, is something wrong with his thumb also?
Well, that's what I've been hearing from around for people, that they're supposedly not saying something about his thumb, and that's been affecting him. And I think he just doesn't believe in the team anymore. I don't think he trusts his receivers. I mean, you look back on the game film against the Lions, and he had guys wide open downfield, and instead he took a sack or either just decided to run around the pocket and just throw the ball out of bounds. It doesn't make any sense.
Can I chime in real quick? It's kind of funny, doesn't it look like now that Mike McCarthy's coming back, look like how he played sort of a little bit the last couple of years of Mike McCarthy, where he was going off script, wasn't following the plays. It doesn't seem like he's into whatever they're doing. And like if he was throwing a rhythm, he had guys against Detroit.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. It just seems like he just isn't comfortable. I mean, you saw him yelling again, just on the field and on the sideline. It is not a good look.
Yeah, as a Bears fan and the rest of us in NFC North, I don't want to be mean here, but it's kind of nice to see.
It's very nice.
It is.
I'll be mean. I'll be the mean one.
All right, go ahead, Drake. I'll let you be mean. Yeah.
It's just funny because this is the first year that Twitter has existed that I haven't seen one Packers fan in our mentions talking shit. It's like before it was like anytime we would win, you'd be like, oh, no rings, like we're still leading the North, and now they're quiet. Like I haven't seen it at all. And I think, everything does come back to Aaron Rodgers, and like Matt was saying, and we've said every week, I feel like Rodgers is almost, well, one, he's self-deprecating as hell. And if you remember in the offseason when he decided to ended up staying and not leaving, it's almost like he's like sabotaging the team. I don't think that that's like what he's doing, but it really, because you're Aaron Rodgers, and if you really are one of the best quarterbacks of all time and you're coming off 3 MVPs, it just seems very unrealistic that you fall this much. And okay, you think maybe he has a thumb injury. If you know Aaron Rodgers, he loves to make excuses. It's like I feel like he would be blasting, oh, it's my thumb. You know, he's someone that he puts the blame on everybody else. And I think it's time that the second that he kind of looks within and is like, okay, I need to put my pride aside and put the team first, I think there could be a big turnaround. But the Cowboys is a really tough team to, start that momentum.
Yeah.
It feels like he's sorry.
No,
it feels like he just doesn't care anymore. Like he's done. And I think we've all been there at one point in your life where you're just like, I'm just done. You know what I mean? And that doesn't mean I don't think he wants to retire right this minute. Just like with the season going the way it is, he just seems like, you see him throwing iPads on the ground. He's done that before. That's nothing new. But I don't know what it is. He just feels like he's like, I'm just done with this. Yeah, like can I just get out of the season and then I'll decide if I want to play again next year. You know what I mean? Like
he's got 50 million reasons to come back next year too, right?
And it feels like they just paid him whatever he wanted to where he's like, well, I can't say no to $50 million or whatever. Like nobody's saying no to that. Like, you know what I mean? So
yeah. And
then they don't give him the guys that he wants. They don't bring back Adams, and it just kind of spirals. And now it's like,
yeah, I mean, it's been hurting us fans personally. Just the fact his play and his attitude recently. I mean, this past Tuesday yesterday on McAfee, when asked about the 3 interceptions, he was like, "Well, that isn't really all." He didn't really say, "Oh, that's my fault. I need to not do that." It was kind of more or less one single play is made up of multiple players and not just one person, and the blame is all on everyone. And it's like, come on,
just
dude,
take the
please.
blame once in a while. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, yeah, and on the other end of the spectrum, who the Vikings play this week, Josh Allen came out and was just, saying, it was on him, and so that's what you want for a quarterback, right? You want a quarterback to, be, the leader. And I was like in the offseason, I was liking, what Justin Fields was saying, right? He was saying a lot of the right things as well. I mean, even as a young quarterback.
Yeah. I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I just wish. I mean, what Josh Allen said is perfectly that I wish Aaron Rodgers said in his press conference after the game. That's exactly the perfect words I wanted to hear from him, but he just didn't say that.
Yeah, I just don't think he cares anymore.
That's what it feels like. Yeah.
Isn't he like supposedly the best quarterback of all time with like a no interception ratio? It's like you've had the same guys. The only thing that's changed is you. Like.
Yeah, it's weird. He was almost to a fault. He wouldn't try
exactly.
He'd avoid interceptions, and now he's just something's really weird there, and I don't know exactly what it is.
Well, Tang Yang had some questions or had some comments here about QB tiers. Obviously, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, but Max Kellerman QB tiers. Obviously, Kirk Cousins, was ranked, 16th, and there's a lot of Kirk hate. Right. And I mean, obviously he's kind of gone up, but why has, Kirk gotten kind of that, I don't know, negative kind of, is it just because of his attitude? I mean, I don't know.
People love to hate him, and I don't really understand why. People were mad when he got a big contract because they said he wasn't worth it. And I said, well, that's the QB market. You could be, he's the best of what was out there. Okay, he's not Drew Brees at the time, or at least top guys, but that's how it is. Like average guy, and I think he's better than average, but average guys get paid. He was the next in line. He got big. So people hated that. Then, he couldn't win, games. And that was, people hated him for that. And now we're winning games, and it's not because of him. And it's just always an excuse. I don't really understand the Kirk hate. It's kind of weird. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I'm not saying he's a top 5 quarterback. I've never said that. But he's a very solid quarterback. And I don't understand the hate that he gets, which is just completely unwarranted. Like, he's not a bad guy. Like, he's not talking shit about his guys. Like, sometimes not Rodgers, not personal, but like he takes blame when he needs to. He does all the right things. So I don't understand the hate. I don't get it, but it's been there for years. So
yeah, and I think it does come down to, I've always said, like, he's too nice. You know, he doesn't have that like oomph and that swagger that people are like, oh, this is why, you know, people look at the attitude of a football player, and no matter what, they're like, oh, they have a winning attitude because they're like over the top and they're confident and they're cocky and like all these things, where Kirk is just so, you know, modest and humble. And sometimes I think because he takes so much blame, that people are like, oh, cool, let's just put it on Kirk then, because he is very much like, I need to be better, I need to be better. But it's been interesting seeing, you know, Kirk O'Chains come out, and everyone now everyone's talking about him, because it's like, okay, actually this man has an 8-pack. He's got a little, like, you know, rhythm.
Got some swag.
Got some
It's
swag.
fun to
Now
watch.
he's
It's fun to
winning.
watch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been so cool. Like, I've always been a Kirk stan, and at the end of the day, everyone was like, oh, who cares that he has all these amazing stats? He doesn't win. Now it's like, oh yeah, he's winning, but his stats aren't as good. Like, dude, fuck off. Honestly.
Yeah, I think from the outside, part of the problem with Kirk is that he just hasn't played that well in primetime games, and he hasn't won a lot in the playoffs. So that's where most people are seeing him the most. So, you know, I think most people are seeing him when he's not playing at his best, and therefore they're thinking he's maybe not that great. But he's obviously a good quarterback. Just because he's not elite doesn't mean he's bad.
Well, I think just one last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this last week has been very interesting because before he stayed so under the radar with the whole Kirk O'Chains thing. Now, like, I mean, come on.
It's all over Twitter, man.
Yeah,
I saw him.
All these people this week have been talking about him, and it was funny seeing some of the interviews, like on ESPN, where they didn't even know what they were talking about, because they clearly have like never paid attention to this man in their life, and all they saw was him with chains. So then they're like saying shit that, like, have you even watched Kirk?
They've been doing that
play?
for 2 months now.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, but I think it plays to our advantage too, because we do way better under the radar.
So Matt, you made a comment. Obviously, you know, Kirk in primetime games, but here's the thing, you know, with Aaron Rodgers, right? Like he hasn't performed lately either, but the media has been so slow to kind of like turn on him. They're starting to now. I mean, or what are you seeing, Matt?
Yeah, I guess I would say to that, you know, despite Rodgers having obviously playoff struggles the last few years, he definitely has built up more than, you can't argue that he hasn't built up more of a resume.
He's got the resume.
Yeah, the presence. Yeah. So that, you know, I would say it's worthy that it's slower to be super critical of him, although he does clearly deserve it this year.
Well, what's on that resume though? Because you know, he hasn't won a Super Bowl in like 12 years, right? So
no, right, but you know, he has won a ton in the regular season, and until I would say the last couple of playoff ones, he's been good in almost all those playoff games. They've had usually, you know, except for the last few years, I think he's been good in the playoffs. They've usually had a pretty terrible defense with him.
But again, you look at the two. You say Kirk, you know, sucks in primetime games, sucks in playoffs. I'll give you the primetime games, I'll give you the playoffs, but then you look at Rodgers, he hasn't won more than 2 playoff games in 10 years. So it's like, he's getting there. He's getting there. Yeah,
he's won MVPs. So, like, I'm not going to compare Kirk Cousins to Aaron Rodgers.
No, never.
Is
but
great.
It comes down to people forgive him more than,
well, of course, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, well, he's also more of a celebrity, too.
Yeah,
you know, people love celebrities.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Caden?
I mean, back to the fact he has not. I mean, this past year in the playoffs against the 49ers, that's completely blatant on the offense. Our defense played amazing, and also our special teams just played like absolute garbage. I do have a question. If the Vikings if Kirk Cousins brings the Vikings deep into a playoff run, say like the NFC Championship game, or if they win a playoff game, do you think the Vikings should sign Kirk Cousins to an extension deal? Do you think that'd be a good thing for the Vikings to do?
So he's already signed for next year. I personally want to draft a new guy. I want to draft somebody young. But you say that, think about everyone says, and I'm the same way. Everyone says I want the next Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. How many of those guys are there? Just two. Maybe you get a Joe Burrow, but you got to have the number 1 pick. Are you going to be able to get that high? No. You know what I mean? Are you going to get Justin Herbert, who's a top 5 pick? We're not that bad. So then you have to give up 3 first-round picks for the next 3 or 4 years. Everybody wants those guys, but I don't know that you can get up that high to do that. So, yeah, I mean, he's still playing at a high level. I see no reason to not give him a contract extension.
And I think that I was just going to say, I think that he's the most consistent quarterback in the league. He's only this last game, he went out in one play. He came back to, win the game. And he's only went out in 2 other games since he's been a Viking. So it's like, if we do draft someone, I think it would be similar to like an Aaron Rodgers situation where he was under Tom Brady and then kind of moves up, or like a Jordan Love where he's have someone under kind of grow off of Kirk and then maybe can move up.
So like an Alex Smith type of situation.
Yeah.
Like the Chiefs did it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that would be best case scenario, sure. And I see that with the cap. I would agree. I mean, I'm sure his cap is crazy. It always is. That's why they extended him this year. They'll probably give him, another. What I think is they did. I'm assuming to only give him a 1-year extension. 1, release the cap a little bit for this year. 2, to see what Kevin O'Connell thinks. See how he does in the offense. Give him a year to say, is this our guy? And maybe they decide, okay, yeah, he's 34. He's got a couple years left in him. We can give him another 2 or 3 years. And if this year didn't work out, they can say, okay, like we need to get rid of him. Like we need to start over. And so if we go far in the playoffs, I don't see how you don't give him another couple of years. Right. If we get there and we are one and done, then maybe they're like, all right, we got to start over. I don't know.
Vikings are going to have some interesting decisions. Obviously, do they eventually pay TJ Hawkinson as well? I mean, that's going to be one. But, obviously those are good things to have, deal with if they're winning. If you kind of, lose in the first round of the playoffs like the Cowboys had or whatever. I mean, some of these things are, a different, just a different conversation altogether. Mm-hmm. So when you, I did want to talk about, on this podcast, we've talked about this for, a number of weeks, ranking NFC North, like different, coaches and things like that. I want to get now at this point of the year, I want to get everyone's take on this one. So let's go ahead and go back to the conversation. So ranking the NFC North coaches. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with you, Matt. Okay. Tell us who you think are the best coaches.
My gosh. I feel like this is a totally difficult question. I really don't even know what to make out of Minnesota's coach O'Connell just yet. I guess if we were ranking them, wow. I think you still have to go LaFleur first, right? Because what he's done. I mean, record-wise, don't you have to?
Or is that Rodgers?
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's too hard. Obviously, I like what Eberflus has done. As much as Dan Campbell was likable on Hard Knocks, I don't really.
He's easily last place.
Yeah.
So I would. Oh gosh, I guess I would go. I guess I go LaFleur, O'Connell, Eberflus, Campbell, but like the 3 at the top, I don't know if there's much separation there.
Absolutely, yeah. What are your thoughts, Caden?
If we're going based off this year, I think I'm going to have to say Kevin O'Connell this year has been absolutely amazing. I'd probably rank him over LaFleur. But if we're going just based on like overall experience and not thinking just this year alone, then I have to rank Matt LaFleur over Kevin O'Connell and then probably Eberflus and then Dan Campbell all the way at the bottom.
Dave, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this early in the season, and I said, you have to give it to LaFleur. It was, O'Connell was unproven. But he's looking like he knows what he's doing. They're winning. That's what you want to do in this league. And was LaFleur a product of Rodgers just being great, or was LaFleur a really, really good coach? I don't know. It's hard to say. You never know with great coaches and have great players. For now, I'm gonna go with O'Connell number 1 just because he's getting it done. I would put LaFleur 2, and then Eberflus 3, and obviously Campbell's he'll be gone by the end of the year, I think. But that's another conversation.
I think they're committed to him. That's the one thing. I mean, is that kind of what you're
that's
hearing?
why
Matt,
Detroit
or
is
no?
Detroit, That's why they don't get better.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if they, I think they had some expectations this year. If they can't win more, no matter how much they like him, I think they might move on.
I mean, hey, they beat the Packers, so
well, that's true.
Yeah, what counts.
Well, hey, Bears probably will too this year.
Oh, don't say that.
Shelby, what about you? What are your thoughts? I mean, you're all in on O'Connell?
Yes, I am. My thing is, okay, you can't really compare other years, right? Because the coaches weren't around. So obviously you can give LaFleur his flowers, but he did have arguably the best quarterback in the league. But his issue now is when you look at a coach, you need someone that's willing and capable of leading the team. That's his actual job. He cannot get Rodgers under control. He is like spiral there, whatever they have going on. But then you think Rodgers had the same issue with McCarthy. So it's like LaFleur is probably not the actual problem. But you look at O'Connell, he changed a 8-9 team to 7-1. He has the best first-year record in Vikings history. He is leading our team. He has brought all the pieces together. I think that, it's just so amazing to watch the positive environment and seeing how happy. You look at Packers, no one seems happy to play. You look at Vikings, everyone seems happy to play. I think everything comes down to the coaching. And then I agree with the other two at the bottom, I think.
Well, okay, so I'm going to be a little bit contrarian. Obviously, it's what have you done for me lately? So I'm going to say O'Connell because of what he's done, and obviously he still has a lot to prove. But Matt, this might surprise you. I'm actually going to put
Dan Campbell number 2, huh?
No, I'm putting
yeah, you certainly could.
I'm putting Eberflus number 2, and here's why. And because and you've probably known this for a while, Matt, like the Bears, they just had no direction, right? And so in what they've had in the past is, a coach just didn't kind of know how to be the CEO, right? And I feel like Eberflus has kind of been doing that. He's got all of his corny, hits, principles, all that, right? But he's kind of doing what's needed to do,
Right. Yeah. We all, and players included, I think, rolled our eyes at him when he first started. But it's clearly like he's working. He's got a message here. He has a direction, which I think that they didn't have the last 2 years. I'd say the only reason I didn't rank either he or O'Connell is just because the sample size is so small at this point.
It is. And so, I mean, you look at, obviously, with what's happened with the Packers. I mean, he's been questioned, even from, that going for the field goal and, in the past. And so, like, you look at some of these things, and even like with McCarthy coming back, you think of just some of the questionable moves. And I think when you have a coach, you don't want to really hear about them as much, right? Unless they're winning and an all-time great coach. Like if you're hearing about them in a negative way, that's not
right. I mean, how many coaches out there are difference makers if they don't have a quarterback, anyways?
That's a great point.
Yeah,
that's a great point. Well, as we look at some of these games, obviously the Bears. Are we all in agreement the Bears are beating the Lions this weekend?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay. What about the Vikings? Are the Vikings winning this weekend?
I'm going to Buffalo. I'm going to that game. It's gonna be cold. I kind of I was like Shelby. I kind of want to see Josh Allen play. I kind of want to see how we really stack up.
I don't think you want that.
No. Well, that's the thing. So
Right.
I'm. You're right. I don't really want to see that because I don't think that we can stack up. But I would rather I kind of want to see how bad we get beat. And sometimes a loss is good. Like, I mean, if you get your ass kicked, then you get your ass kicked, and you got things to change. You rather get your ass kicked in November than in January. Yeah. So realistically, I don't want to play because I'm going a long way and I'm hoping to see a win. I don't expect to win, even with Keenum, just because I think Buffalo's the best team. To me, they're still the best team in the league. They got a great defense. They got guys. Keenum's not terrible. So I'm not going to put a win on this, but I'm hopeful they can figure something out and get it done.
I feel the same. I think I'm kind of where what you say about the Bears every week, where I just want to see a good game. I'm not really necessarily
I'd like to see
worried
us
about
not get killed.
Yeah, and also you say obviously we don't want to see them lose, but after we lost to the Eagles, we had a 6-game winning streak. I think that maybe a little chip on the shoulder would be nice going into the Cowboys. At the end of the day, the Bills, I agree, I think they're the best team in the league. So if we lose against them, it's not going to be the end of the world. I just want to see a good game.
Maybe the Jets are one of the best teams in the league, right?
The Jets are really good.
They are good.
I know. Yeah, I
Doesn't
know.
say they're the best.
Tell Sauce Gardner.
That dude's a stud.
Oh,
So, Caden, we'll kind of end with you then. What are your thoughts? Do you think do we all think that the Packers are going to pull off the upset versus the Cowboys, or what are your thoughts, Caden?
No.
There's the emotional side of me really wants them to like come out strong, get the win, but the logical side of me is like they're either going to get completely blown out or it's going to be a close game and they're still going to lose, and it's just going to be bad anyway.
What do you think, Matt?
I don't see. There's nothing I've seen from the Packers tells me that they can beat the Cowboys this week.
Nope.
You too,
I
Shelby?
agree.
All right, I'm gonna be contrarian this week again. I'm gonna say the Packers. I just, and everything in me doesn't want to believe in Aaron Rodgers, but I just think that like the Jag in him is gonna come out this week, and he's gonna be like he's gonna beat the Cowboys. I just think that's gonna happen.
They're so banged up though too.
That's true.
Oh
That's,
yeah,
I just the NFL this year does not make sense.
No, yeah, that's
no,
Right?
it doesn't.
It doesn't.
And so, like Aaron Rodgers winning this game, that's the only thing that makes sense, right? But this would almost be like the last stand, and then like the rest of the season downhill. But I don't know.
Them being at home too is a big, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
they're
well-
at Lambeau. That should be a
Yeah.
nice thing too.
I mean, hey, the Cowboys pounced in 2016 and absolutely destroyed our team. So who knows? They might do it again.
It's possible. Well, this has been fun. I definitely appreciate everyone this week. Where can everyone find you again, Matt?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at MattZonSports, also on CBS2 here in Chicago. We have our Sports Extra on every Saturday night at 10:35, and I'm on during the week covering Bears and other things as well.
Awesome. And where can everyone find you, Caden?
You can find me at Pack Only Podcast on Twitter. You can follow me at Pack Only Podcast on YouTube and Pack Only Pod for your daily TikToks.
Very nice. I am definitely going to start, watching, especially as the Packers continue to lose. It's quite entertaining. Speaking of entertaining, where can everyone find you again, Dave?
At Viking Dave 18 on Twitter, and then Fantasy Football Show Once Upon a Sunday.
And you haven't been banned again yet, right?
Not yet. Not a couple weeks. I haven't been
All right,
banned
right.
from Twitter yet.
All right, not yet. Can't imagine.
Well, nobody gets banned anymore, right? Aren't we all?
I hope not. I hope not.
Dave.
Well,
Dave.
maybe I was like right on the edge because it was a couple
Right on
weeks
the
ago.
edge.
So until Elon came in and saved the day.
Well, speaking of being on the fashion edge, where can everyone find you, Shelby?
Shelby Tweten, Tweten. I think some people think it's spelled like Tweten. So Shelby Tweten on Twitter and Instagram. And then, yes, we do have our clothing line at Aries Archive.
And did the special person wear the outfit yet?
She is wearing it on the next home game against the Cowboys. It's already confirmed.
Adam Thielen's wife.
Thielen's wife and her daughter, they have little like matching jackets. They're so cute.
Very nice. It would be cool if it was Bears stuff, but we'll go with
I
Vikings.
told you we'll make you something. You
All
just
right,
gotta
all
figure
right.
out what you want.
That's true. I'll send you something.
Okay.
So I definitely appreciate everyone coming on. Once again, this has been the Freezin for NFC North Podcast, episode 37. Like, subscribe, and all of that. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great week.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Let's go.